Good afternoon all. Welcome to the August meeting of the Town of Newbury Human Resources Board. Present are Mark Fleckman,
John Farrar,
Anthony Antico.
Lynn Peabody.
thank you all. Chief Fisher, we believe, will be joining us momentarily. As Diane indicated in her note to us last week, she was out of town, but we have a quorum. And hopefully, as I said, Chief Fisher will join us to make it 5. And also joining us today, our Town Administrator, Tracy Blaze. Tracy, thank you. Let's kick off with approval of the prior meeting's minutes. Let's look first at the subcommittee meeting, which was held on July 17th at 4 p.m. And if you recall, that meeting was strictly called for the purposes of finalizing the discussion we had regarding the classification of the treasurer-collector position. The folks had an opportunity to read through those minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we'll review the minutes of the regularly scheduled July 22nd HR Board meeting, which was called order at 4:08 after the subcommittee. The folks had an opportunity to read those minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any further discussion?
So I have one thing, just a point of clarification. On the July 17th minutes, my name is Lynn Chatty, and on the July 22nd minutes, my name is Lynn Peabody.
Okay, thank you.
So just
Did not
to
catch that.
clarify that I am one and the same.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I mentioned that to Diane
Oversight, of course.
last
Okay.
week.
Thank you. I don't think that's happened for a few months, has it?
Must be
Okay,
using an old template.
Other than that, thank you for that catch. Any other discussion, clarification needed, questions? Seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Next order of business, employee issues. Typically, we turn to Diane and Chief Fisher for that. In their absence at the moment, Tracy, let me ask you, is there anything we should be aware of that?
I've not received any notification of
Okay,
any issues.
that's a good thing. Thank you. Tracy, how about personnel actions and job vacancies? We talk every month about things that are occurring. Last month, we talked about an offer that had been made to the applicant for the assistant library director position. Has that
That
gone
was accepted.
smoothly? This acceptance great. Start date there, or has the individual started, or?
So the assistant director was a promotion. an interim
Oh, okay.
promotion.
Okay,
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so the dominoes fell there.
yep.
Great. Additionally, last month, the town had added 4 new part-time fire personnel. Open positions at that point included the conservation agent, filled,
Beginning of September
Great.
3rd, I believe.
great. Assistant town planner,
Still conducting interviews on that.
okay. Progress,
Yes,
great. And the full-time patrolman added to the FY25 budget.
still vacant, to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, and we probably discussed this. So last month, when we discussed the tax collector position, the job description, and kind of reclassified it,
Right.
what are the next steps on that? Are we going to be filling a position at some point sooner rather than later? Or are we going to be, would we be looking at that position later?
Assistant treasurer collector?
Yeah, it's the assistant. I
Oh,
was
the
just looking
assistant,
at it.
No, the treasurer
this is-
collector position?
So we reviewed the treasurer collector
Yes.
position.
Right, that's
And
Diane's
reclassified it,
Yep.
updated it.
Yep.
And so just for my clarification, is that just, we're not doing anything with that at this point?
No,
Okay.
no, Diane's here for as long as she wants to be.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Casey, we just,
It had been a very long time.
2012, I think.
2012, since we
2012,
had
yeah.
evaluated that. And one of the things that became clear over the last couple of years when we had so many vacancies was that we weren't really competitive because a lot of these jobs hadn't been classified in so many years because people
Right.
were in the roles for extended periods of time.
Mhm.
And that was one of the last management positions that hadn't had any review. So I just thought it would make sense to bring it before the board.
Okay, I know we have it in here as the treasurer collector, but I was thinking,
Yeah.
did we talk about an assistant, for succession planning or anything like that, but we,
We do have an assistant treasurer collector who's relatively new, that's probably why you were thinking of that. So we had one leave our employ probably about 3 months ago,
2-3 months.
and we just hired, the new person started
okay,
Right.
relatively, maybe a month or so ago. So we do have someone that could likely take over
Okay.
at some point in time.
okay.
And just as
Thank
a
you.
reminder, in the case of the treasurer collector position, I mean, I look at it as really two reasons for having the need to do that. One is, as Tracy just mentioned, it had been 12 years since the position had been classified. And secondly, during that time, a significant number of new and different kinds of responsibilities had been added to the role.
That's a good point,
Which
yeah.
necessitated, it wasn't just the fact that it had been 12
Right.
years.
Right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, nothing new in terms of personnel actions and job vacancies since last month, Tracy?
No.
Okay. Workplace discrimination, ethics issues, none again, hopefully? Good, thank you. Safety issues,
None
no
identified.
new protocols in place? Okay. Other business, okay, let's, unless anyone has other items to discuss, let's dig into the compensation survey RFP we've been discussing. We'd ask everyone just to review once again the paperwork that Tracy provided for us last month. And as a reminder, this is the one quote that we've received from a outside vendor for a compensation survey. Tracy, you were kind enough to share your thoughts on this last month. Is there anything new you want to add, or should we just dig into the conversation?
I think we can just dig in.
Okay, let's just open it up around the table. People have had a chance to review. Do you come with any specific questions or observations you wanted to share about that?
So I have a question. So this is the one, as I was looking through emails, I believe this is the one from March 22nd of 2024?
Yes.
Yep.
If we do go out for requests for proposals, probably this one would be updated then, as it's going to be stale, right? It's going to be about 6 months old?
Correct.
Okay.
So this, for our purposes today, if I may, I think I wanted you guys to have your eyes on this, to look at what we're talking about going out for, and if there's anything that you think is deficient here that we want to add, or anything that you don't think we really need, we want to fine tune it before we go out with the RFP.
Okay.
Yeah,
We can in effect emphasize certain pieces of this, or if need be, eliminate certain pieces of this before
Absolutely.
we go to other vendors.
yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yep.
Then, was there anything else to start off, or?
Thank you for that, and I'm looking at this not to exceed 60 positions. So Tracy, how's our count?
Yeah, we would be in all likelihood much fewer than that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, much fewer.
Good to know.
Because we don't really have, a lot of our positions are, I think our head count is just around 60 in terms of total employees, but that includes all our call firefighters and people who wouldn't necessarily be part of this classification, so we'll be much lower than that.
Okay, thanks.
Given that, do you expect that the number that was originally quoted here may come down?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
yeah.
And there was a little bit of discussion about that, I think, last month, and that is whether certain positions will be kind of for lack of a better term, lumped together.
Yeah,
It's not required that each and every position at each and every desk in town hall needs to have a special.
correct. Correct. Like, for example, the call firefighters, we want to make sure that we're staying competitive with what other communities are paying, but there are, I don't know, 38 of them, 37 of them, we only need one classification, so this will likely be reduced in
Got
scope.
it. Okay, great.
How many employees do we have?
Just over 60. Not a lot. It's a small operation.
Okay.
We do a lot with a small amount of people.
Is that exclusive of PD, or is that inclusive? Okay.
That's including what?
PD, police department.
Okay, yep.
Tony, John, thoughts out front, or
Not
pretty straightforward?
pretty straightforward. I mean, they're telling us they're going to take a 30,000-foot view and then drill deeper
Yeah.
and give us trends and changes, recommendations, and try and bring the costing out of the trends. However, I mean, typical.
Yeah.
And you've already described the non-typical circumstance, the volunteer firefighters, and those of that ilk. And the most important thing is their selection in their study of what represents 12 peer groups.
Agreed.
That's the essence.
Yeah, I had that as well. I'm curious as to whether we would want to supply them with the names of certain communities we would like to have in the survey, or is that?
We can certainly, I mean, I defer to their expertise in terms of this is what they do. They're gonna know the towns that are most comparable to us, but if we look at it and we see, oh, gee, Groveland's not in there, we
Right.
consider them a comparable community, can you add them in? I'm
Right.
sure they'll be amenable to doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're out of Andover, right?
Right, so they're local,
Yeah.
this particular group.
Thank you.
I had a
Tony?
bit of a problem with my computer recently, and it's on the way to the swamp or something. And that's been recent. It's been a real headache. In any event, one of the things I saw on that broken computer today was I was looking for it. The handbook, Massachusetts Select Board handbook, and where I just noticed that they have multiple chapters, and one of which was Chapter 7. They call it the Human Resources, Personnel, and Labor Relations, and a very extensive situation where you know they're looking at what I got out of it. You know, how many do you need? What do you pay? Et cetera, et cetera. The role of town council here, because they're involved in, or may be involved in legal issues, et cetera. If something happens, you know, whatever. But this was the entity who refused to give you any information about what we want to do here, right?
No, so the Mass Municipal Association, I
Right.
think, publishes that handbook, and that's for newly elected select board members. That's
Right.
kind of to provide them with a blueprint of a lot of their roles and responsibilities. So there's Mass Municipal Human Resources, and they're actually a wonderful resource for us for a lot of information. What happens is they send out a request to all the municipalities saying, hey, give us all your data on all your positions, your head counts, the titles, the responsibilities, the wages, your population. But what's happening is they're not getting the responses. So they put together this whole website with the information, but it's only the information they receive back. If the communities aren't submitting it, which seems to be what's happening.
So they're guessing in a way, or?
So they just don't have the data. There's not a lot of data on their site, which before, 10 years ago, that was where we'd all go to get the information, because everyone would complete those forms, but people just aren't completing them anymore.
There's no authority that
No.
must be done.
It was all done voluntarily. And in fact, Diane mentioned that, if you recall, when we started this conversation 3-4 months ago, she mentioned that each year, for the past 3 or 4 years, fewer and fewer municipalities
Doesn't that
were
make sense?
volunteering that information.
Why would you want what you're doing for your staff and your employment group
Right,
on public paper?
Right, well,
Because it would start the proselytizing
right.
on steroids.
Right.
People would say, these people are, we know which towns to raid.
Right.
Or I want to work in that
Or I
town.
wanna- I wanna work
Right.
there.
Yeah, in fact, Diane mentioned to us that up until recently, she felt good about the fact that Newbury was one of the towns that was volunteering
Right.
more information than, I don't want to call it our competition, but, other municipalities all over the state. And she said in the past year or so, it's gotten to the point where there's really a dearth of information available out there, and that's what precipitated this whole exercise is, well, if we can't get it, through MMA,
Yep.
or their subunits, then, it necessitates going to the outside. I mean, Tracy mentioned that, she might be, close to a town administrator in this town, or I may know the HR director in that town, but that's fleeting information. It's not gonna give you enough to do a competitive survey. And so that's what led us to this.
Does that beg the question as to whether Human Resources Services, Inc. can divulge 12 peer groups' information?
So I came in contact with them in a previous position and worked with them. But the thing that was very helpful, that I came to know them because they were seeking information from the community I worked in. And I frequently will get notices from them, would you please provide us with this information? If you do, we'll provide you with the results of our survey. So if they're doing a police chief search or something like that, and then they'd send us the list of the police chief wages that they received from all the communities, if you agree to participate with them.
So I guess the question is, are they bound by certain restrictions in terms of what they can share? In other words, would they provide us with aggregate information without naming the specific towns and what each town is paying?
No, they
for certain
name the
positions?
towns.
They're able to do that? Okay.
Any idea what percentage of municipalities in the state are now providing information? Do you have any idea how many municipalities are in the state?
351 communities.
Okay. And do we have any idea what percentage are submitting information? I'm just
I
curious.
don't off the top of my head, Diane might know that.
Yeah.
That 351, reading the cricket story that I was telling you about, when you're looking at averages, Newbury is smack in the middle.
In terms of population?
And per capita expenditures for every category, including government, general, police, fire, education, public works, fixed costs and debt services, dead center.
What are you referring
Where
to,
did you
John?
get that?
This is a report that I received from one of the financial directors over in Manchester.
Is that current?
It's summer of '21, February 18th of '21 actually. Fairly current, and quite an enumeration of where the money's going. Hence we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. But Newbury's in good stead. Actually, they're as far as median is concerned, they're flat level with the median average. So
This is expenditures on administrative staffing or
just
overall budget?
overall budget. In other words, a well-handled budget.
It's kind of similar to what you and I talked about a month or so ago, where we sat.
Where we were?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Can I ask what you mean by that? I wasn't following. So we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending
Oh,
problem?
that's the author's sarcasm. The idea being that people in all of these communities are looking to adjust their revenues and go find commercial enterprise development instead of leaning on, I mean, when you think about a town like Manchester by the Sea, you've got to think off the cuff that 15% of those residences subsidize the other 85%.
Yep.
And when you look at Newman Road and Cottage Road and some of the new developments going on in our tiny little cattle village, there's a whole bunch of that subsidy going on here as well. Some monstrously valuable homes subsidizing not so valuable homes. And, and some of those are per capita, just 2 people living, and other houses in remote locations, 5 people living, and so they get a per capita subsidized living. And it's the idea. The idea of this, though, is I come back to it, is what prompts it, what motivates it, and the idea that if nobody is offering the Commonwealth that information over the transom as once, then you almost wonder if we get involved in this, we're going to hard publish what we do and how we do it, and put ourselves in the 10 ring. People will know what we're spending and how much we're offering, and what that'll put us at an advantage and disadvantage at once. Disadvantage being we're giving out our secrets.
Well, we are a municipality, so we have no secrets.
Yeah.
All the information is public anyway. And I think of this more as a tool for us to ensure that we're attracting good qualified candidates. We've been fortunate to have a very strong bond rating. We've been judged by our CPA firms as having strong finances. We want to ensure that all of that keeps going in the long term. I think it's really up to us to make sure that we find talented people that can continue things along that route, and that goes for all of our managers, our DPW director, our police chiefs, our fire chiefs. I mean, they all have a very strong role in containing costs, making sure, we're doing things in accordance with the law. And, as any community, you want to attract the best and the brightest. So
Agreed.
we're finding that we haven't necessarily been competitive in some areas. We have in others, but we want to make sure, I think the information that will yield from this type of study will help us to better understand where our classification schedule sits. Generally speaking, when we do the classifications, the independent ones, I'm always impressed by how spot on they are in terms of when I then go and look at the advertisements for those positions.
Right.
But like I said, some of them hadn't been looked at in quite a number of years. So this is just taking a more comprehensive approach to what you do on an individual basis.
What steps do you need, and what help do you need to get this over the transom and get it done?
So I just wanted your eyes on it.
Yeah.
If there was anything that we should be considering that isn't listed in this group of tasks, if anyone thought of anything that we should add, or so before we go out, I just wanted to have you kind of look at it.
Any chance that they've provided you with a sample presentation from other villages?
I do not have a sample. I could probably get that for some of the others, but they may be hesitant.
If I were to be in their craft, I would have an abstract and a sample. And so that this is what you can expect.
So when we
Without the town's complete agreement and understanding.
Yeah. Well, it can be neutralized. It can be blacked out where.
Sure.
But you get a sense of the core value of it.
I can require that in their submissions,
Yeah.
that they include, a sample document.
What are we going to get for our change?
So just looking down at these bullet items on the second half of the first page here, one thing caught my eye. Provide recommendations and or advice regarding all other areas of compensation packages as required. This would include other pay, longevity, stipends, and fees. It does not talk about benefits, because I didn't see benefits listed anywhere here. On the second page, it talks about numbers of hours worked per year, but there was no discussion about how benefits, cost of insurance, other considerations would factor in. So I assume we would want to make sure that that gets included.
Yep.
And when we're talking about benefits, what about paid time off? Let's see, what else would it be besides, within that total pay bucket?
Vacation,
Paid time off?
vacation time,
Yeah. And what
personal
does paid time
days.
off mean? Is it all in one, or is it broken out holiday, vacation, and sick?
Personal.
Yeah. So just, to clarify that.
Right.
Yep.
Do we have a maternity leave status for both?
Yeah, that's
Mom
all,
and
that's all set forth in statute for the
Statute,
majority of it.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
What was that, maternity?
For both sides of the couple, that's the idea.
Yeah, so, Mass paid family leave, is there a size requirement for the employer to be in that program, or is it all employers?
I believe it's all employers.
Okay, so we would fall, we meaning the town would fall under the Mass paid family leave.
No, we do not fall under.
Okay, you
We're
dropped
we're
out?
unpaid, we do, so maternity and paternity would fall under our FMLA, and it's unpaid. We're not required to pay.
Okay, did you opt out of the Mass paid family leave?
I don't know that we opted out. I think it was population driven, the number of employees.
That's what I was
Yeah.
asking at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yep,
Okay.
we weren't required.
Okay, I was thinking it was 50, but it might have been by FTE also, so that would,
It could be.
lower our numbers here.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And Diane could probably give you the details on that
yeah,
better than I could, but.
So if we look at what our expectations should be about provided data, I think we go to the top of the second page. The consultant will survey and provide up-to-date market information on positions. Typically, our market analysis includes components such as, but not limited to, let's make sure we're comfortable with all of those and add anything we want. Provide the salary range for each position surveyed, obviously. Provide actual salaries for certain positions. Provide statistical comparisons of average, median, range, and 75th percentile. I assume that would be important for you, Tracy, right? Provide information on the number of work hours per year, certainly. Provide specific information where the responsibilities assigned to a department or a position are not typical in most organizations surveyed. That's an important one for us.
It definitely is.
Because we have, as we've talked about on many occasions, we have a number of hybrid type positions where folks are, wearing multiple hats. And so, this is not going to be an exact science. We're going to have to extrapolate a bit when we factor in that employee X, Y, or Z has got a much broader role than the title would suggest. And how do you account for that in a compensation survey? So
Right.
I don't think we can presuppose it. We're just going to have to, as we get this information, kind of diddle with it as best we can to figure out how we would want to massage those numbers, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
this is not going to look at, and I'm sorry if I was not paying attention, I was trying to look up Mass paid family leave, but I have no internet. So about job descriptions, we've talked about that throughout this whole process, right? Like, how are our job descriptions? Are they pretty up to date for the most part? And do we need any help, working on those? Or these folks probably will just say, probably to your point, Mark, I'm sorry, like, okay, we have this one position, but in this other town, that could be this position, or it could be a hybrid, or whatever.
Yeah. I would imagine at some point they're gonna ask us for the job descriptions to look at them, to identify those areas where we have, you're not a treasurer collector, or you may not find many treasurer collectors that have an assistant HR role. It's just kind of a one-off.
Right.
It's just what we do here. You're not gonna find a lot of town administrators that are also the finance director. You're not gonna, we just do that just because the nature is, it's a small town. You may find joint positions in some of the other small towns, but they may not be the same way that we've established them here. So there's going to be, to your point, there's going to be those areas where you're going to have to look at them and say, well, okay, but it might help you when you're doing those .1, .2, .3s,
Right.
it might provide you a little bit extra guidance there.
Yeah, and I would think once a vendor is picked, well, maybe I shouldn't assume this, is it your expectation that, you certainly, and perhaps we as a board would sit with the chosen vendor in advance of them kicking off the program?
Absolutely.
To explain various positions that
Yep.
really sit outside the norm,
Yep.
to give them a head start rather than
Absolutely.
waiting for them to come back to us,
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Good. So again, so they're anticipating this, they're saying provide specific information where the responsibilities assigned to a department or a position are not typical in most organization surveys. So this is not their first rodeo and
Right,
stuff like that.
right.
You're also going to want to get a clear picture as to with whom they need to deal with to garner the information.
Sure.
How many department heads, and drilling down, how many assistant department heads, or all 60 of the employees on a regular basis, not the part-timers and not the other than typical, not so typical, but the idea being how many are they going to entertain a meeting with and how extensively.
Mostly the meetings would be with Diane and myself.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't
No
anticipate
department
them
heads.
meeting with
Okay.
individual department heads. No, I
Okay.
don't think that would be. If they have follow-up questions or details, for sure.
They may request it.
Yeah, and they request it, but I wouldn't expect them to have to
Okay.
interview. If they were doing job descriptions, yes. But I think our job descriptions are pretty tight at this point.
And we may find as we go through the process that there might be a job description or two that also needs an update. I mean, as we determined with the treasurer collector position a couple, 3 months ago.
Sure.
Wouldn't be surprised if there's, one sitting there with some cobwebs on it that might need to get aired out a little bit, so, okay.
Do we have a good org chart at this point?
We do.
Okay. And then I imagine that we have the metrics, the analytics that say how many FTEs in each position.
We do.
In a grid or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Tony?
Do you know how many municipalities have been reviewed specifically by this company?
I do not, but that's a question we can ask, how many that they've done.
It's part of their credentials.
Yeah.
I mean, every company I walked into for 54 years wanted a resume.
Anything else, Tony?
No, that was my point.
So the last 2 bullet points, the one we were already speaking to, provide any other pertinent information that may impact the salary ranges of positions surveyed, that extraneous stuff, I should say miscellaneous things we talked about. Provide trends in compensation programs offered, to what extent we can get creative with, other programs yet to be seen. We may be hamstrung there, but
Yeah.
let's see what they have to offer. And, we can take what we want, leave the rest behind, so.
And they're gonna have to be intimately understanding, in, as you call it, small town makeup, the fact that so many of you wear 2, 3, 4 hats. And that takes your job description for our peer groups. I mean, look at our peer groups in this study, and Marblehead is there, and so is Gloucester, so is Hamilton, and I doubt very many of those people wear 3 hats in the working order.
Maybe Hamilton. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of
Okay.
the smaller ones, probably not Gloucester.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even see them as a comparable community,
No.
no.
And the rest of the second page talks about what their process will look like. To discusses the fact that they are happy to meet with town officials to discuss issues and to gather information. I'm sure that'll be before, during, and after. Reviewing market data and analysis and comp policies, discuss the analysis and the findings. And you can see the different work products they have listed there. Complete and comprehensive labor market analysis. Recommendation for any new plans they think that Newbury would benefit from. Specific recommendations and findings in regards to certain position comparisons. Cost outs and an implementation plan covering all recommendations. And that all municipal data and information collected will be presented to the town. Additional data, in addition to the custom municipal peer survey, may also be provided as needed through the Economic Research Institute. Other resources they have available to them. We'll have it all on a secure web portal, as well as a comprehensive narrative final report provided to the town. So, are there other things we would like to see from a vendor, not in terms of the finished product, but in terms of a request for proposal? Anything you think is missing? We talked about other benefits.
Sample document, number of mass communities that they've
Yep.
completed, proposals for.
Anything else that the board would require of these vendors, not in terms of the work they'll eventually do, but in terms of just providing us with their proposals? Anything else you'd like to see that's not included here?
Well, I'd like to see the legitimacy of the 12 peers, disclosing the actual name of the township that they're offering, not just calling them.
Yeah, that'll be the report for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you just pointed out, if we try and toss ourselves in the same bucket with Gloucester, we're in the wrong
Yeah.
spot.
Right.
Be some concentric circles there. We'll start with
For
the
sure.
obvious choices and work our way out. I mean, I would think that, I was surprised that they talked about 12. I was pleasantly surprised there. I thought it might be, half a dozen
Six.
or
Mhm.
8 or
Yeah, half
9.
as many, yep.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of the stuff they may have sitting in a drawer already.
Could be ready to go. You're absolutely correct.
Wouldn't be a surprise, yeah.
Well, that'd actually be a good thing.
But they have it and we don't.
Well, yeah, if every time municipality requests this stuff, you have to start from scratch. You're
Right.
charging an awful lot more than this, so, and that's okay. They have what we need.
Tracy, do you see, do you have any input into these? Any things that you would like to see that aren't included currently?
Everything's here that would be, information that I'd be looking for sure.
Okay. And then, what do we anticipate a time frame would be?
So, putting together the RFP will take a couple of weeks. Get it out, advertised, usually 30 days to get them back, and then evaluate them and award it.
How do you choose the 3 or 4 more that you're going out to? How do you know?
So we advertise it and they come to us.
They come to you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could get one.
Where is that advertising done?
Central Register for the
Okay.
Commonwealth. It's
How
also
did you find-
newspaper, in the newspaper as well.
How'd you find the Andover folks?
I worked with them when I was in West Newbury
Okay.
because they had called us asking for our data.
Okay.
And we found ourselves in a similar position, although we didn't have job descriptions, we had nothing. So we worked with them on a much bigger level.
Well, it's to your credit that we've got a lot of this data at hand.
We do. We paid considerably more, and that was probably 20
Right.
years
Look at
ago,
us.
so. So look at us, right?
When we get the request for proposals
Sure.
drafted,
Yep.
before it gets sent out, do we have to approve anything at that point?
No,
Okay.
no, as long as you're comfortable with what's in here, that's kind of what I needed from the
Okay.
HR board.
And then 30 days, and then those bids would come back to us, right? They were all sealed bids or something?
Yep, they're proposals, they'll send in a proposal and then we just evaluate them.
So given that timeline, we should probably anticipate whether it's in a regularly scheduled meeting or a subcommittee meeting, reviewing these proposals sometime maybe during October, would you guess?
When's your meeting scheduled? When do you usually?
First Monday of every month.
Last Monday.
Last one.
Last
Oh,
Monday.
that's right, yeah,
That's-
fourth Monday of every month.
Fourth Monday.
Yeah,
October, November, yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, so when that time comes, we'll either probably end up scheduling a subcommittee classification, excuse me, a subcommittee meeting to make this the sole agenda item and have a chance to review them.
You have passed to the select board in any manner? Straight from the top? Okay, good.
So when we would be reviewing these, would that be a closed session?
Nope.
No?
No, it's a public opening. They're all sealed, and any of them, sometimes the people who have submitted bids might come
Yep.
to join, to hear what the other proposals were, and
Yep, sure.
not always. That's usually the bigger jobs, but wouldn't be surprised.
And just to clarify, I think, as is the case with other things we've discussed over the years, this is not an HR board official responsibility. Is that fair? This is your call
Yes.
in terms of the vendor, but we will advise and offer whatever suggestions we can. And
Look, I appreciate your expertise on this board. You've always helped guide us to making very good decisions,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, it's always
when it comes
important for us to
these
understand that this is not officially our purview.
So you don't even have to bring these proposals back to us.
No, but like I said, I appreciate your expertise, and I think if you want to get a good product, you get lots of ideas, and it just works out better that way, from my experience.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, looking forward to next steps.
All right?
So you anticipate that at least by the time we meet for the fourth Monday in September, the RFPs or the requests will have gone out to the other vendors
Yeah.
probably, and then it'll be like another month after that. Okay, great.
Well, thank you
Yep.
for all the work you've done. It's huge. It's important, especially, like you said, the best and the brightest.
Yeah. And look, if the results of this are nothing more than, you guys are in good shape. Newbury is in
Yep.
You're
great
better-
shape,
You're better
and,
than most.
yeah, there might be a little tweak in this role and, maybe a substantive change over there, but if the results are, congratulations, you're
Well done.
you're ahead of the game, it will be time and money well spent to know that
You say large
we're
Bravo
where we need
Zoo.
to be.
I might not be available that last, is it the 4th? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the last Monday in October. I'll be coming back from a trip, and I probably would not be in time to come to this meeting.
Well, again, it's an important one, so I see no reason why we can't create a special,
Make it ad hoc.
it does not have to be at our regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
I think this is an important enough subject matter that we can schedule it at a time that everybody's available.
Just
Okay.
keep it
Near
quick.
and dear to my heart, that's for sure. All
All right,
day.
anything else on the comp survey?
That's true, that's a
Good.
good point.
Good discussion, thank you.
Well, there is.
Okay. Any other new business, other business to discuss? Tracy, do you have anything else for us?
I do not.
None? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? We are adjourned.
Thank you.